Tom Brady has been in the NFL for 20 years. He's won 6 Super Bowls. We all know that over the course of his career, he's been an incredible quarterback. But the question is, how good is Tom Brady now? How good is he today in 2020? People are concerned. What about his arm strength? Can he still throw a deep ball? His completion percentage is lower than normal. What's going on? Is he still a good quarterback? So I ask, what does the film say about Tom Brady? I believe this needs to be said first. Tom Brady's not a god. He's grown to have a kind of mythical status in the world of football. So to be clear, he's not perfect. He makes mistakes. When you watch him on film, you'll see he has bad throws. He'll throw an interception. He's human just like any other quarterback. He's got a pick 6 against Miami. I wonder, did he not see the safety Eric Rowe? Was he trying to check down to Sony Michel and the ball got away from him? I don't know what he was thinking. But this is not a good play. So I want to repeat this. Tom Brady is not perfect. He makes mistakes just like any other quarterback. However, what is impressive is how rarely, how infrequently he screws up. It's not that Brady never throws an interception or never throws a bad pass. But when it does happen, it's an event. It's a big deal because it's rare. Now, I want to dispel a rumor about Tom Brady. There is a narrative that some people believe Brady can't throw a deep ball. It's simply not true. There are just too many examples on film of Brady throwing good deep balls. In general, his arm strength is underrated. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but who is? Brady can still drive the ball downfield on a line into tight windows. And that's what arm strength is. I believe there are 2 main reasons why people have developed the notion that Tom Brady can no longer throw the deep ball. Number 1 is the receivers he played with last year, and number 2 is his playing style. Let's start with number 2. It makes sense to me why people would watch Brady and think he couldn't throw a deep ball. The reality is that if you casually watch Tom Brady, it's kind of boring. He gives the impression that he can't throw a deep ball, partly because he rarely does it, but the other reason is because Tom Brady is a thief. He's the master at stealing yards underneath. Growing up, my coach once told me, you can't go broke taking a profit. And Tom seems to have taken that to heart. He will literally throw a 5-yard hitch every single time if you let him. Over and over again. 5 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards again. Death by 1,000 cuts. He doesn't care about stats or big plays. All he cares about is moving the ball downfield. He's very disciplined. He appears to have a deep philosophical rule. If you give him a 3-yard completion, he will take it every single time. You even see plays where he appears to be wanting to throw the ball farther downfield, but suddenly a receiver will flash open underneath, and he just takes it. He will never have a regret. He'll never feel like, I could have had a 4-yard completion, but I tried forcing a throw downfield instead. And his discipline pays off. As a result, his team is regularly in manageable 3rd and short situations. So Tom Brady has a disciplined philosophy. Like a rule of thumb, if you give him a short 5-yard completion, he will take it. Every time. But here's the key, though. When a defense takes away everything short underneath, quarterbacks need to be able to complete passes into tight windows downfield. And Brady can do that too. Brady doesn't regularly throw underneath because he's limited. He does it because he's disciplined. That's Brady's style of play. But now I want to talk about the receivers he played with last year in 2019. Tom Brady never had a true outside threat at receiver last year. Now, I want to stop things because when I say this, people get confused, and I've realized I need to define what that means. I've collected some prime examples of what a true outside receiver looks like and plays like. Julio Jones from the Atlanta Falcons is a great example of a true number one outside receiver. He can catch jump balls down the sideline, or he can throw him a back shoulder fade on the goal line. You want a guy who can beat one-on-one coverage downfield the way DeAndre Hopkins can fully extend to catch a deep ball, or Michael Thomas from the Saints making back shoulder grabs down the sideline. Another great example is Stephon Diggs beating his man in one-on-one coverage down the sideline. Or think of Keenan Allen from the Chargers, who's able to make tough grabs downfield. And at Tom Brady's next stop, he will be able to work with one of the best deep threats in the entire NFL, Mike Evans, a guy who can beat man coverage and make massive plays downfield. Last year, the Patriots did not have anyone like that. They didn't have a guy who could regularly beat man coverage down the sideline. Now, to the Patriots' credit, they tried repeatedly to get Brady a true outside threat. I will give them that. They brought in Antonio Brown. That didn't pan out. Josh Gordon didn't work out. They released him. They made a trade for Mohamed Sanu. And Sanu is a steady, reliable veteran receiver. But the reality was, number one, he was not a vertical threat. And number two, he came in mid-season and was learning the offense on the fly. Now, the Patriots did draft a receiver, N'Keal Harry, in the first round of the NFL draft. But unfortunately, he got hurt and didn't play until week 11. By the final few games, he did make a little bit of progression. He had a few big plays where he beat one-on-one coverage. However, he was not able to make enough progress with so few games to play in. And he made a number of rookie mistakes. In the end, Tom Brady and the Patriots did not have a true outside threat at receiver last season. They did not have a guy who could regularly line up outside against a corner and beat one-on-one coverage on the outside. And frankly, it crippled their offense. Now, when I say that, there are people at home scoffing and fuming angrily. They're like, ugh, you didn't mention Julian Edelman. Someone always says that. Someone always says, well, they had Julian Edelman. And yes, Edelman is a great receiver. He won a Super Bowl MVP award. But casual fans don't understand that Julian Edelman is not an outside receiver. He lines up inside at the slot position. So yes, Julian Edelman was the Patriots' best receiver last year. He was Tom Brady's go-to guy when they needed a play. And when the Patriots faced one-on-one coverage, he was their best bet. But again, Julian Edelman lines up inside. He does the majority of his work at the short and intermediate levels of the field. These are 5 to 10 yard routes, usually in the middle of the field. He's a short, quick receiver. He's not a deep threat outside, downfield against one-on-one coverage. The Patriots did not have a true outside receiver last year, and that affected and hurt the way that Tom Brady is perceived by a lot of people. But you have to realize how tough it is to do your job without the proper tools. It's like a mechanic without a wrench or a computer programmer without a keyboard. You need that stuff to do your job properly. Like, of course his numbers were down. He didn't have the tools he needed, but I want people to notice he still found a way to succeed anyway. I mean, look, Brady was literally throwing deep balls down the sideline to his running back, James White. Throwing deep balls to Jacoby Myers and Philip Dorsett. The Patriots' young receivers really struggled at times, and it hurt Brady. Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry were both rookies. Jacoby Myers was an undrafted free agent. And N'Keal Harry came in so late back from an injury that you could see he was learning on the fly. There's one moment where Brady expected him to go deep. You can tell from Brady's stance and body language. The corner was sitting at 5 yards, just waiting for a 5-yard hitch. And Harry's supposed to convert the route and run right by him here. Instead, he stopped and waited next to the defender rather than making the proper adjustment. There's another moment, week 13 against the Texans, where Tom Brady threw an interception because N'Keal Harry got beat inside on a slant. As a quarterback, you have one-on-one coverage with an outside receiver running a slant. You have to throw the ball before or right as your receiver breaks inside. Quarterbacks have to trust that their receiver is going to win inside with the corner jockeying for positioning. On this play, N'Keal Harry got pushed around. He was beat inside, making Brady look bad. There's an example on a similar play where veteran receiver Mohamed Sanu does the right thing. Mohamed Sanu is jockeying for positioning with the defender trying to fight inside on a slant, and Sanu won inside with body positioning and caught the ball. Now, Philip Dorsett was the worst Patriots receiver. He is one of the most infuriating players I have ever watched on film. My list goes number 1, Mitchell Trubisky, number 2, Blake Bortles, and then Philip Dorsett. He's a former first-round pick and a total bust. He played with Andrew Luck and Tom Brady, and he still hasn't been able to figure it out in the NFL. He's been in the NFL for 5 years, and he's already now on his 3rd team. And he did not fit with Tom Brady at all. Brady relies heavily on timing and guys being in the right spot at the right time. The smallest imperfection can cause a disaster. So the Patriots' offense relied on precision and attention to detail. And Philip Dorsett was awful at those things. So not only was he a guy who could not beat one-on-one coverage at all, he was also regularly in the wrong place or doing the wrong thing. There's one example where Brady gives him a hand signal to go deep, and Philip Dorsett doesn't see it at all. He cuts his route short and runs a hitch instead. Brady throws the ball deep, and his receiver isn't there. Or there's another example against the Chiefs where the defense brings an all-out blitz, which means that Brady needs to get rid of the ball immediately to beat man coverage. And Philip Dorsett, who's a special kind of oblivious, doesn't even expect the ball to come in his direction. There's a reason the Patriots did not invite him back to their team. Philip Dorsett's really fast, but that's about it. The guy could not make contested catches against one-on-one coverage. He regularly ran the wrong routes. He missed signals. People were wondering why Tom Brady had a lower completion percentage than normal. Why is Tom Brady's completion percentage so low? Well, number 1, his receivers did not help him very much. Number 2, though, is that Brady threw the ball away a ton. Defenses need to understand that the way to get Tom Brady to throw incompletions is to get pressure on him. But here's the kicker. You can't do it by constantly blitzing him. There are 11 players on defense, and usually 4 or 5 of them are rushing the quarterback, depending on the offensive formation. Now, if you take players out of coverage and send extra defenders after the quarterback, which is what a blitz is, then you play right into Brady's hands and you help him out. Week 1, the Steelers sent a blitz after Brady, and he just calmly found the weakness in the defense and threw a touchdown. There's a play against the Chiefs where the guy who was supposed to guard Julian Edelman blitzed. All Edelman did when the ball was snapped was simply turn around and catch the ball. It's a veteran move. Blitzing Tom Brady is a fool's errand. All it means is you will have fewer people in coverage, and he's going to have an even easier time beating you. But if your defensive line can win one-on-one matchups, then you can hurry him and force him to get rid of the ball early. Now, unfortunately for Brady, his offensive line was regularly beaten. And then it becomes a game of math. There was a situation against the Cleveland Browns where the Patriots used 7 guys to block 6 Browns defenders rushing the quarterback, and the Browns still won up front. So again, the way to slow Brady down is to get pressure with your defensive line. If you can both drop a ton of guys into coverage and still create pressure, then you will succeed. There was a sequence during week 1 where the Steelers were able to get pressure on him 3 plays in a row with only a 4- and 5-man rush, meaning they would drop 6 or 7 guys into coverage and still were able to generate pressure. They disrupted the entire Patriots offense that way. Now, one major interesting part of Tom Brady's game is that he refuses to take a sack. He doesn't want to lose yardage and will not take a negative play. So he will throw the ball away to avoid a sack. In fact, Brady does this so often, I had to come up with a new term and annotation. It's called a throwaway from the pocket. TAFTP in my notes. Normally, throwing the ball away happens outside the pocket. There's this arbitrary area called the pocket, similar to the tackle box. It's an area roughly from the right tackle to the left tackle. And when a quarterback is outside of the pocket extending the play, you can, quote, throw the ball away or throw the ball out of bounds if, say, you're trying to avoid pressure or if no one's open. Now, a key factor here, though, is you also have to throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage if you're going to legally throw it away. Now, when you're in the pocket, you cannot throw the ball away or out of bounds to simply avoid a sack. That's called intentional grounding. Intentional grounding is a rule that exists to give the defensive line a fair chance. That way, quarterbacks can't just fling the ball away anytime there's pressure on them. But of course, Tom Brady has found a loophole in that rule. He realized that as long as you throw the ball near a receiver, the refs can't call it intentional grounding. Brady can just claim that he threw a bad pass. Whoops. And let me tell you, Brady abuses this shamelessly. It's really annoying for defenses. But it's also really smart because it makes him nearly impossible to sack. It does happen from time to time, but it's rare. Brady hates taking sacks because he understands and knows that losing yardage will kill a drive. So when he's about to get sacked, he will throw the ball in the dirt in the direction of the nearest receiver. And as long as he throws the ball to an area where there's a receiver, then it becomes a legal throw away from the pocket. It's literally evil genius type of stuff. The dude found a loophole. There's even one incredibly egregious example against the Chiefs where Brady is dead to rights, but then he just slams the ball into the ground. Initially, a flag was thrown, but Brady pointed out that technically, number 83, a receiver, was in the area. And amazingly, the flag was picked up. Not a penalty for intentional grounding. Brady just mercilessly abuses this loophole he found. But hey, it is a really smart way to avoid sacks. It would even be really tough to get out of the rule book, because how do you police it? How do you judge what's a mistake versus an intentionally bad pass? And honestly, with quarterback safety at an all-time high importance, the league might not actually want to get rid of the loophole. Now, I did find one moment week 4 against the Buffalo Bills where Brady threw the ball to an area where there was no receiver, and he was flagged for intentional grounding. I found one example, but man, is it a rare sight to see Tom Brady flagged for intentional grounding. So remember, TAFTP, throw away from the pocket. It's a new thing that Tom Brady basically invented. And it's funny to me, man. People are concerned about Tom Brady's accuracy. You know, there's a throw against the Bills that, to the untrained eye, looks like a terrible throw. But here's the reality behind it. Early on in the year, Brady showed a tendency to throw to the single receiver side. He loved taking advantage of one-on-one coverage on the backside of a play. It's something he regularly did throughout the year. Isolate a receiver, get him in a one-on-one matchup he could win, and Brady would exploit it. The Bills know Brady loves to throw to the single receiver on the backside, and they're expecting it. Right as Brady turns to throw, he sees a defender sitting and waiting for the ball. He only had one option to throw to on this play, and it's not open. So he throws the ball away, high over everyone's head. It's a smart play. It looks like a terrible, inaccurate throw, but it's actually Brady living to see another down, avoiding an interception and avoiding a negative play. So why was Tom Brady's completion percentage lower last year? Number one, he had crappy receivers who either dropped passes, couldn't beat one-on-one coverage, or simply ran the wrong routes. And number two, Brady had a struggling offensive line that caused him to throw the ball away a ton. Everyone looks at that number, completion percentage, and thinks, man, Brady must suddenly not be as good. But the reality is that last year, the team around him wasn't as good. Last year, the Patriots struggled with basic things on offense. They struggled with pass blocking assignments and running even the right routes. Now, I gotta say though, I really enjoyed watching Brady on film. There's a couple things I enjoyed I want to share. Number one, the dude is so well prepared. He always knows exactly where his checkdowns are and always has a pre-snap plan. There's a play against the Eagles where the Eagles defense played man coverage and they just made things so easy for Brady. He simply picked his best matchup pre-snap and threw an easy first down to Julian Edelman. When young quarterbacks watch Brady, I want them to pay attention to his feet. As the years have gone on, he's evolved and now always has a calm pitter-patter with his feet, resetting his feet to each target in the pocket. And he has tremendous rhythm and timing. And by the way, the dude can still move way better than anybody gives him credit for. Yeah, look, Brady's incredibly slow. I can't imagine a race he'd be able to win. But he also moves really well within the pocket. He can slide around and keep a play alive when he needs to. He's also the best quarterback I've ever seen at QB sneaks. If a defender leaves a gap open up front in a short yardage situation, then he will happily exploit it to steal a first down. And that's what I respect about Tom Brady. The dude is scrappy and disciplined. He's slow. He doesn't have a cannon for an arm like Patrick Mahomes, but he does all the little things it takes to succeed. He's constantly finding ways to make defenses wrong. Brady's fun to watch because his success is all because of attention to detail and preparation. You know, how can I steal a first down? Or how can I get this 4-yard completion? What can I do to give my team an edge so I can win? When I watch LeBron James dunk or Patrick Mahomes throw a 70-yard pass from his knees, I feel helpless because that's impossible to replicate. Brady feels uniquely attainable because it's not someone doing something superhuman. He's a smart guy who puts a ton of time and preparation into his craft. I respect Brady's approach. And the truth is, the guy hasn't fallen off a cliff. He succeeded last year in spite of his receivers, in spite of a bad offensive line. He can still throw the deep ball, and physically, he's better than people realize. The film says Tom Brady still got it. People can say whatever they want. They can list whatever stats or numbers they want to, but the truth is that when it comes to Tom Brady's, quote, decline, many people are very, very wrong. But how did we get here? Look, I know I'm the only person saying this stuff, but I think the sad reality is that most people don't do the work. They're very surface level when it comes to their analysis. I did hours and hours of watching film to get to this point. Most people just look at a spreadsheet. They go, well, the completion percentage is not as good as it used to be. And the reality is that's too surface level. That's not enough work to figure out what a quarterback is all about and really how good they are. And the film simply disagrees with the majority of people out there talking about Tom Brady. And that's sad, but that's the state we've gotten to as a sports world. People don't want to do the work to watch games or watch the film. They want to look at a spreadsheet and go, this equals this, therefore that is bad. And that's not good enough. That's too surface level. And that's why the narrative exists that Tom Brady is, quote, declining and not as good. The film disagrees with most people's opinion and most people's, quote, analysis, because most people's analysis is far too surface level. In case you don't know, Strong Opinion Sports is not just a YouTube channel. It is also a full audio podcast. You can find it on Spotify, on iTunes, on Google Play, pretty much everywhere you find podcasts. And if you like podcasts, please do me a huge favor and give it a listen.